Township Board of Trustees regular meeting for Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. We'd all please rise and pay respects to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Noting of the roll.
Noted.
Okay, item 4, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Charles. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none. Moving on to item 5, approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the following change. Under the agenda for the special township board meeting on 8/20/24, the approval of the agenda should have right after the word clerk.
Second. I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari with an amendment, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Item number 6, public comment on items not on the agenda tonight. Members of the public can come up and have 3 minutes to speak regarding any item they'd like to talk about in the township, and they have 3 minutes to do so. I'll recognize the public. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Dawn Medici with Oxford Township Parks and Recreation, and live here in the township. I'm coming this evening to say thank you to the board and trustees for allocating the American Rescue Plan Act funds, the ARPA funds, for the Oxford courts, tennis courts, universal courts, pickleball courts. Coming in to say thank you because that has been accomplished. The improvements have been made, and the courts they look beautiful. If you've not been out to see them, please come out to see them. And it's quite busy every morning now, and in the evening. And all ages actually are out on the courts using those courts now. So thank you for that. And then I would like to extend an invitation to all of you to come out to the park on Tuesday, the 17th at 10 a.m. We're doing a ribbon cutting with the chamber. And if any of you can come out to attend that, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Any other members of the public like to speak on items not on the agenda?
Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Albert, and I just wanted to say thank you guys for all that you do. I am on the general election as a potential trustee, so if I do get to join the board, I just wanted to say I'm looking forward to working with you all. Thank you much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Can everybody hear out in the audience? Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to come up and speak on items not on the agenda?
I feel really bad and
Yes,
stupid,
ma'am.
but I
Come
don't
on
know
up.
what the agenda is. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, seeing no more comments, we'll move on to Board of Trustee comments. We'll start with Trustee Charles tonight.
For one thing, Supervisor Curtis, I'd like to, if we could, find some way of having a moment of silence in recognition of today being a special day in American history, a somber day, 9/11. Is that something you would kindly lead us?
Sure. Okay. Clerk Wright?
A couple things, the Northeast Historical Society Museum is going to be hosting a cemetery tour on Sunday, September 22nd. It'll be on the south side of the Oxford Cemetery, and it's celebrating some of the people in the cemetery, some of their accomplishments in Oxford and their legacy. And also the mausoleum is turning 100 years old, so that'll be open to the public if they want to come and look, see what's inside the mausoleum. Also, we are in the process of paving the north side of the Oxford Cemetery, so Engineer Sharp's been on that exercise for us to get us to actually get that side paved. Finally, I just want to say ballots for the election will be in at the end of September. We plan to send those out that last week in September if you are signing up for an absentee ballot. And also, if you haven't and you want to, just come to the office. You can download this online as well. And if you are going to be at a different location than where you reside for the winter time, fill out the bottom of it so we can get your ballot to you at the correct address, so we don't get a call that you didn't get your ballot if you don't fill this out. So if you need any more information, just contact the clerk's office regarding the elections. Thank you.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Nothing at this time?
Trustee Noel.
No, thank you.
Trustee Payne.
As you know, Wolf Tag will be done in a couple of months, and so I would like to recommend that the supervisor appoint my replacement for negotiating with the fire department union. We're at a crucial point right now, and I'd like to bring that person in early for the next round of negotiations, and kind of get that person so they can get some feel for the job ahead of them.
Thank you. Trustee Colvin.
I just want to let everyone know the DDA is decorating downtown this Friday, so starting at 10 a.m. If you want to help decorate downtown for fall, just come on down and we'll put you to work.
Thank you. I just have a couple comments. This year's gravel program, thanks to the road committee, we have done 21,500 tons of aggregate, and we applied it to 13.37 miles of gravel road. I know last night some people were thanking people for doing roads that haven't been done in 50, 60 years, but we spent tri-party funds from the county and through the township, and almost 14 miles of gravel roads. So the last 2 years now, we have re-gravelled almost 2/3 of our 40 miles of dirt roads. Secondly, I was in discussion with Treasurer Ferrari and Attorney Olin today, and taking note that Trustee Payne may be leaving early, and with the union negotiations taking place before our new members are sworn in, I would gladly fill in that position too, since I did 3 contracts before with him. I'd fill in that spot.
I'm not leaving, no.
I know, but what happens is we have an overlap between meetings, negotiations,
Right.
and swearing in. So I said I would fill in those positions. So I'll handle that one. All right, moving on. Item number 8.
I move to open the public hearing at 6:39 p.m. to discuss the establishment of the Cedar Lake, Long Lake, and Tan Lake Special Assessment District, your objections to the SED petition, the SAD project, and the SAD cost estimate.
I second that.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari and a second by Trustee Charles. Roll call, please.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Members of the public, now is a chance for you to step up to the microphone, and we're going to take public comment on Cedar Long Tan Lake Special Assessment District. You have 3 minutes to state your case regarding the Special Assessment District. We welcome you to come up to the mic at this time. So, please identify yourself and
Tyler Raphael, live on 132 Canview. I have a couple of questions for you guys. How deep are the invasive weeds and what's the cost gonna be? Because right now, as it stands, we've lost 4 days on the water, and a lot of dogs are getting ill because they just go into the water and they come out with rashes. Christina, mine does too, but I have after the treatment. So, how deep are these weeds? Because I live in muck, so I don't understand where the weeds are.
And I just want to make one point. We're going to capture all the questions. We won't have a dialogue back and forth.
Okay.
We'll answer them at the end of the public hearing.
All right. Well, those are my questions for you guys,
Okay.
because like I said, I live in muck, so I don't understand where the weeds are. I don't see them.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Kimberly Reynolds. Is this forgive me, is this the same thing as what's going on with Clear and Squaw?
What is
Because
going on at Clearance
we're all
Square?
on the Stringy Lakes group, and they're dumping chemicals in the lake. Is that the same, is that what we're under here?
Yeah.
Okay, so the chemicals that they're dumping in the lake, they are, the last lady that came by in a hazmat suit spraying the lake, supposed to be a totally safe product, said she was only spraying copper, but I saw her pouring 2 different things in her pressure sprayer, and I asked her, I said, well, she's holding up the bag of copper, and I said, well, what's the other thing in the jug that you're pouring in? And she said, well, that's what makes it stick to the plant. What is it? She doesn't know. Apparently, that's the not safe stuff. My animals have come out of the water vomiting. My neighbor's daughter, when they first started putting this stuff in the lake, a couple weeks later, after she went in, she had white spots all over her body that the doctors couldn't figure out. And now she's 5 years later, she's still got these spots all over her body. Nothing can cure it. And I think that it's my sister's dog ends up with all kinds of skin issues when he comes out of the lake after swimming, days after the stuff has been dumped in the lake. I was told when they first started this that the purpose of them doing it was because the crops were getting caught up in all of the weeds. I said no to it at that time. I said, let's harvest it. They didn't want to harvest it because it costs too much money and you have to keep doing it. This was going to not be a forever thing. It was just going to take care of the alien weeds that showed up in our lake because of the boats being dropped in and the crops not being cleaned and nobody being at the launch to monitor what's going in and out of the lake. So they did that. They also said there was no good place to put the harvested lake grass. I recommended the huge boat launch that is sitting there empty all of the time, but for whatever reason, that wasn't a good place to put biodegradable natural grass. So they, against my will, I'm paying these taxes for toxins to be dumped into lake. I don't spray my grass. I eat organically. I don't smoke anything. I don't drink anything. I really don't drink much more than water. So for me, it's very disturbing to have an absolutely pristine, spring-fed lake being poisoned with all of these chemicals being dumped in 4 times a year that are literally fish can't swim. Why not? Don't use it to water your vegetables. Why not? It's perfectly normal, healthy stuff. It's not going to hurt anything. There's no evidence that it's hurting the duck or the fish because nobody's researching it. Nobody's done a count or a check on how many fish are in the lake or what's going on with the ducks. How long are they living? Are they tagged? What's happening to the babies? Nobody knows. They're just trusting that the people who are making the money off of selling this process are saying that exactly what everybody wants to hear, that this stuff is perfectly safe, so let's just dump it in the lake and take care of the weeds so that the boat crops don't. You know what? Harvesting will take care of that. And I am still cleaning dead stuff up off the lake. Whatever it's killing, I have to rake it up and I have the stuff laying all over the front of my lawn. So it's still getting harvested. It's just dying and floating to the shore. And on top of that, now when the boats are out there, there's no lake grass to catch the dirt. So now the dirt's just spewed up all over the lake, all the water's filthy. You can't even swim in it. No, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
All right. Hi. Mary Reynolds at 222 TNU. I would just like to ask a couple of questions about the effectiveness of this. I'm wondering if there are pictures that would be proof of what had happened, you know, prior to this application, what had happened, you know, what it looked like after. I'd also like to ask a question, if this, you know, where's the end of this? You know, I have my papers, you know, from 7 years ago that said that this was gonna be a 7-year process. But it looks like it's gonna be in perpetuity, okay? So those are my two questions.
Hello, I'm Yvonne Dudley. I live on 520 Maloney Avenue, Oxford, and I have a person to keep this, which is some paperwork showing you what invasive, to show you what invasive species we have. And I know the company, I'm not sure what company they have on the other lakes. I'm on Squaw Lake, well, now Paint Lake, but the company we have is PLM. And their PLM is the largest company in Michigan, and they have been in business for 30 years. Their employees are mostly graduates from MSU wildlife and fishery programs. They do Lake Orion and Lakeville Lake, and other residents are very happy with theirs. I've been out here 59 years, since 1965. I've seen a lot of the changes. And it is pristine, and I understand that how Kim feels about having pristine lakes, and it was wonderful back then. Unfortunately, now we have all the impact of more homes, more boats, and it's waterfowl too that bring in the invasive species through their feces. So it's not just through the boats and all that, but the chemicals that PLM uses, all the products are used in aquatic weed treatment, have been approved by the state of Michigan, DEQ, Eagle now, and they do a quality monitoring, which includes E. coli, dissolved oxygen, conductivity, total dissolved solids, pH, and alkalinity. Reports are issued annually in the fall. So the company that the Canlake and those have, I'm not sure if they do that for you, but I hope and pray that you can request that from them, that you want to report and have them give you the water qualities that's going on. And as I shared, that the weeds are going out of control. We don't have the winter ice anymore like we used to that slows that growth. So now they're really just extremely growing fast. And then if we don't have the companies that are doing the aquatic weed, and people will take it upon themselves, which they have in the past. We've heard them out there in the wee hours of the night, wee hours of the morning. So now you don't know what chemicals they're using, how much they're putting in, and that at their discretion. Where with these other companies, they are regulated by the DNR. Thank you.
Any other members?
Can I come back up?
Trina Hart, 523. First, I was here when the meeting report, I think monopoly control person was here, and they were telling us how they were going to try to target specific weeds, the invasive species. And I'm pretty sure they told us they were going to go in and find a specific weed and inject the roots or whatever, and you know, try and get those specific weeds out of the way. And they were going to maybe change it every so often, see which ones are more invasive at certain times. Well, we go out there and we see our boat come with a big old fire hose, basically, just spraying the top of the water with this blue chemicals. You don't know really what it is. We're not trying to target one specific part. We're just spraying the whole lake. Lily pads are gone, everything's gone. There's no more fish around my dock. I had some, maybe little weeds around the dock of the, you know, grass to go to have like a little shade or whatnot, what ecosystem. They're gone. The baby ducks were gone for a couple years. They're just coming back. I think these breaks on it. It's just like, seems like all the fertilizer you put into it, fertilizer going in the water, it's probably fertilizer we use too. So a lot of things are coming together, and I think maybe the time frame they said we're going to have it, we've had it. We're going to take a break and see how it has reacted, and I don't think we had done that. We're just going to keep doing it, because it leaves in people's boats like toothbrushes. Like, as it's more about the people now than the ecosystem and the animals and that were there before us. And, you know, my grandparents been there since 1965 and 68. We were there, so it's like, anyway, that was one point. And, anyway, yeah, so can we just, you know, maybe have a break about that, and maybe if we're gonna be specific on weed control, make it more specific, not just shooting a whole bunch of stuff across the water, which you don't know what it is, and people are getting rashes, and dogs getting rashes, can't go in the water. Yeah,
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to come up and speak? Yes, sir.
I won't be too articulate because I just went through a couple of family emergencies, so I'll try to make my Kurt down. Hope it means. So I know we have costs involved here, which a lot of people are upset about in the downtime, obviously, with the lake and putting the chemicals in there. And some lawns have been hurt, and some gardens have been watered, and some of the residual effects of chemicals and usage of those kind has been well proven. And it does get absorbed by plant material and the ground. So if you keep doing it, you will keep propagating the problem. It seems like also that the system just keeps on getting worse. So when we first had these conversations, it was 3 years, and then turned into 6 years. And now we're asking for 10 years. So it's like, why can't we just take a break and see what the ecology does when we leave the oil? We can always do this again. Nobody's stopping us from reissuing another SAD at another point. But we seem to be forced to want to continue to do this. I don't know if there's monetary gains or by a company that's probably standing to make well over $300,000 over the years from all of us. So, I mean, we couldn't raise the money to get the bridge alive, but we have the money to sit there and camouflage the lake. What we're really doing is sterilizing the lake, I think, because the fish are dying.
Yep.
I had a dog, my kid's dog, grew up on that lake, had never had a problem. He moves away, we start doing this. Now, 5, 6 years later, they go in the lake and they get rashes every single time. It's not when they spray, it's all the time. And it just seems a little preposterous to continue to do things without proof. I see that we got less invasive species, but we have less habitat for the fish. So everybody says we got better fishing. Well, because you can see through the water, So if there's less fish, comes less habitat, and we know that it's a food chain, so it affects not only the fish and the habitats there, but everything that surrounds and eats it too, are also ingesting these chemicals. We do not know the long-term effects. We sit there and wait for it. We don't get publicly told what the results of any testing are. I've never seen it. I've never seen the board or anybody as a trustee that enabled this to come out and say, yeah, it's safe. Look, here's the proof. Nobody's doing that for us. So, I mean, let's take some responsibility until we get some answers. Because I thought I was the only one with dog problems, but I'm hearing it around and around, and it's just concerning. So I don't understand why the urgent rush to continue. Is it 3 minutes? I don't blame anybody here. Everybody wants a clean lake, everybody wants a nice environment, but it's not a swimming pool. It shouldn't be a swimming pool. You want a swimming pool? Go throw your chlorine in it and bleach it out. I don't want to bleach the lake out. I've lived here 30-some plus years on multiple sides of the lake, and I don't want to see it destroyed anymore. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Ed Isaacson at 628 Handview. Just got a question on how the breakdown of per property, what does this cost for the millage, and then how's it broken down? Are they charging this fees to everyone who's part of the association that's around our lake? That's really all I had to ask.
Any other public comments regarding the SAD?
Can we step back up, or no?
Sure, Mary. come on back up.
Okay.
If you have a question.
This is, just listening, Mary Reynolds, 222 Tanview, listening to the other people, I ran across the contract, that we had 7 years ago. So this is a contract for 7 years. Now, you guys are talking about changing this to a 10-year process. Is there another contract? Number one. Number two, somebody was talking about water samples. We were charged every year for water samples. Now, where are those water samples? That was brought up in this discussion. So those are just two questions looking over the contract that we issued 7 years ago.
Again, Kimberly Reynolds, 1946 Lake Street. The people who are saying that this stuff is safe also told us that it didn't need to go on forever. They told us at the time that the majority said that they were gonna go with this, that it was only gonna take a few years, and then it would be done. In fact, I think, if I recall correctly, at the time, it was 3 or 4 years. I don't remember hearing 7 years, but that's just my memory. I don't remember exactly, but the fact of the matter is that they said it was temporary. So, if it's not gonna be temporary, then it's not working. It keeps growing back. What's the point? It's not doing the job. All it's doing is filling the surface stuff. It's like mowing it. So if it's not fixing the problem, then there's no point in continuing to pick for the non-fix.
Any other public comments regarding the SAD?
I move to close the public hearing to discuss the establishment of the Clear Lake, Long Lake, Tan Lake. The establishment of Clear Long has to hear objections of the SAD petition, the city project, and the SAD cost estimate at 6:57 p.m.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari and a second by Trustee Colvin. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes, and Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 9A, first reading of zoning ordinance 67A.030. As recommended by the Township, Oxford Township Planning Commission, attached is the first reading of the zoning ordinance text amendments for special land use, site plan review, and exterior lighting. Attached are the memos from Carlisle Wortman Consultants, and we have Mateo Pasalacqua here tonight to answer any questions, but everything is summarized in the amendments in red.
I move to set a second reading and possible adoption of ordinance 67A.033 of October 9th, 2024, for Township Oxford Board of Trustees regular meeting to amend Article 2 definitions, Article 4 special land uses, Article 10 environmental provisions, Article 12 site plans, for the Charter Township Oxford zoning ordinance 67A.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Item 9B, first reading of ordinance 67A.034. Board members, is recommended by the Oxford Township Planning Commission, attached is the first reading for zoning ordinance amendments in the addition of section 5.39, renewable energy facilities. Again, Mateo Pasalacqua is here to answer any questions you may have.
I move to set a second reading and possible adoption, ordinance 67A.034, October 9th, 2024, Charter Township Oxford Board of Trustees regular meeting to amend Article 2 definitions, Article 3 zoning district regulations, and add section 5.39, renewable energy facilities, to the Charter Township Oxford zoning ordinance 67A.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari and a second by trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Roll call?
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Item 10, Fire Department. Chief, what do you have for us tonight?
Just a couple of things, just some informational reminder that our annual open house will be on October 5th. It's a Saturday this year from 11 to 3. So everybody's welcome to come on out and look things over. One of the things you'll get to see is one of the new ambulances finally came in after over 2.5 years. And it's set for decals and lettering and all that. And we hope to have it inspected by the state and in service within the next couple of weeks. The state there is a process of bureaucracy and red tape to get that through, but we're used to it, and we're already getting things scheduled. So we should be good there. And then lastly, as of around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the new McLaren emergency room opened up to EMS, and we've already transported 3 patients there since yesterday, and between yesterday and today, which, while it's not great that we're getting called out, but the nice thing is our turnaround time was minutes instead of being out of service for about 2 hours to transport either down to Pontiac or Rochester Hills or Troy. So already we're seeing some benefit within a day. So just wanted you guys to know about that, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Item 11, Sharp Engineering Report. Board members, in your packet was a report from Engineer Sharp updating on several projects in the community. Do we have any questions for Engineer Sharp? He's in the audience tonight. We'll have him come up and answer them.
My only comment is to say thank you. It's a nice succinct report.
Thank you. I did it for him.
You did it for him? Okay.
Thanks, Jim. Item number 12, unfinished business. Okay, here we go. 2025 budgets.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 general fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $3,790,378 based on the property tax millage rate to be levied at 0.8776 mils. That's the spreadsheet of items to the minutes.
Second. I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 road fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $640,000. Attached to spreadsheets of appendix to the minutes.
Second. I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 fire department fund budget. Revenues and expenditures balancing at $8,893,422, contingent upon voter approval of proposed property tax millage rate of 5.25 mils that will appear on the November 5th, 2024 general election ballot. Attached to spreadsheet of appendix to the minutes.
Second. I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari and a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 police contracting fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $5,345,496 based on the property tax millage rate to be levied at 3.7831 mils. That's a spreadsheet of appendix to the minutes.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis.
Yes.
I I move to approve the recommended 2025 Parks and Recreation Fund budget. The revenues and expenditures balancing at $1,960,000, based on property tax millage rate to be levied at 0.9626 mils. That's your spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 cemetery maintenance fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $210,000. That's your spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 telecommunications fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $15,000. That's your spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 building department fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $516,165. That's the spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 cable TV fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing $280,375. That's the spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 safety path fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $349,000. That's the spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 Highland Trailway Management Council fund budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $137,990. Attach the spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 North Oakland Transportation Authority budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $11,264,781. At the spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes.
I move to approve the recommended 2025 Oxford Public Library budget with revenues and expenditures balancing at $1,672,751 based on the property tax millage rate to be levied of 0.6224 mils and 0.6641 mils equal to 1.365 mils. That's your spreadsheets appendix to the minutes.
Second?
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Item 12B, 2024 Parks and Recreation Debt Millage Rate Approval. Treasurer Ferrari.
I'll make a motion to set the Parks and Recreation 2024 debt millage rate at 0.1900 of a mil, and authorize it to be placed on the December 2024 tax roll.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Item 12C, the 2024 tax rate request, the L-4029 approval. Treasurer Ferrari.
I'll make a motion that the following millage rates to be levied and collected December 1, 2024. The general property tax on all real and personal property within the township upon the current tax roll, an allocated millage of 0.8776 of a mill for township operations, and voter authorized millage of 0.9626 of a mill for parks and recreation, 3.7831 mills for police contracting, unincorporated portion of the township, and 0.6224 of a mill, and 0.6641 of a mill, Vassar Public Library, and 0.1900 of a mill for Parks and Recreation bond debt.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Thank you very much, Treasurer Ferrari and Trustee Noel for, okay, item 12D, Cedar Long Tan Lake Special Assessment District, Resolution Number 2. Clerk Wright.
Yes, I was wondering if I could get some people to get a hold in my office.
Sure. Run in there. We'll take a 2-minute break here. Clerk Wright is back. He's got his stuff and we're ready to go. I recorded 9 concerns on the Clear Long Tan Lake Special Assessment District. But first I want Clerk Wright to explain pretty much what an SAD is and does and what the Township Board responsibility for those SADs are. So go ahead, Clerk Wright.
Okay, sure. The SAD is a special assessment district, and the majority of the people in this room are already exposed to or have been exposed to that. And what happens is that a petition is circulated within the township for those that are interested in getting, in this case, aquatic weeds treated in certain lakes. Once the petitions are returned to us signed, we forward those over to our engineer to determine the boundary area and the land area of those that signed the petitions, to determine whether or not the land area is over 50% of the area of the SAD being requested to be treated for aquatic weeds in this case. So once we receive that affirmative from the engineer, then we proceed on to continue with the SAD process. First step in the process is to have the initial intent to proceed with the SAD. So once we know we have the minimum requirements, we proceed on to go with the SAD to get that in place. In this case here, we received probably about 70% affirmative petitions to move this SAD forward. So we have a signed contract from the petition circulator, and that was, as far as I know, that was given to the homeowners to let them know what the estimated cost is of the project, and we're at that point now where we are going to approve or potentially approve a resolution to authorize the supervisor to create the special assessment district role. And from there, if this goes any further, the role will be created at our October meeting. Then we will accept the role, and then we'll set a public hearing at the November meeting to actually approve that role. And at that meeting, if the board so chooses to move forward, that's the time, if you want to protest your assessment, you need to appear in person or provide a written explanation of why you don't think you should be assessed. You have to do that in order to go to the Michigan Tax Rate Tribunal. I don't know the process at the tribunal, but that is the process that you would have to go through to protest what would probably be assessed against you. So I don't know if that explains it enough for you to understand the process. If not, I don't know the deal, so I can answer the questions that I wrote down. So hopefully that will help you before you leave. If not, I'm open to give you the information I can give you for that. I know there was some concerns about, a lot of concerns about chemical treatment in the lake. There's muck on my property, in my lake, in that itself. So I'm not no expert on this subject. That's why these companies are in business for that. And I don't know for a fact, but I would say that they wouldn't be treating the lake with chemicals that they are not FDA or environmentally safe, eco-safe there. So I know that there's a contract brought for the 7-year plan. I would imagine it would be the same, and it looks like there's about 15 chemicals in there. I mean, one says water testing, so that's probably not a chemical, but I don't know those answers. That's something that this company's going to have to answer on that, but I don't see them as treating the lake with anything that wouldn't be legal on that. Other questions that came about that I wrote down, and hopefully the board can fill in the blanks if I miss any. There are a lot of those concerns that I wrote down were based upon the actual concern about harming the fish life in the waters. Were we taking water samples? Was there another contract? We only had one contract presented to us, so that's what we accepted at this point. And the reason we do that is we allow you to create the contract. Otherwise, the township board is authorized to do that, and we do that because we know that you're going to get the contract that you want versus us giving you the contract that we would approve.
Yeah. What Clerk Wright is saying is when the petition went around to all landowners, and whoever signed it, didn't sign it, didn't see it, when they ascertained over 51% of the landowners to have the special assessment district created, they chose the contractor. They chose the contractor with the approved chemicals. No one on this board has anything to do with the testing of how deep the weeds are, what they're putting in there. We have no control over that. Our control is that when you come forward with 51% of the landowners stating they want something, we collect the tax money, the money for that contract through the taxes, and we pay the contractor that whoever created the SAD did. We don't go out and test the water. We don't go out and test the depth of the weeds. We do not know the scientific end to this. That's not what we do in an SAD. In an SAD, everybody in the room that owns property or the people that aren't here tonight have that right to oppose it by not signing the SAD agreement. And when that contract is selected, that's when you have your concerns brought forward with those. Now, a point that was brought up is if 20% of the landowners were to come here and complain about it, we would have to address that concern. We don't have that. So what we can answer for you tonight is the tax roll, how many square feet or what role you're being put on. But scientific data, we don't do that. Are we concerned? Yes, we're concerned. We're always concerned. That's why we rely on Eagle. That's why we rely on the DNR. That's why we rely on the chemical companies that are putting this in there for them to do. But we can't tell you scientific data on this stuff. We can tell you that we're gonna charge you this much based on your property square footage, and it's gonna be in your taxes, and we have 2 public hearings before you have an opportunity to go to your tax tribunal and report against that. So this board does nothing with the scientific data. Our board only approves taking tax dollar assignments to your taxes, SAD dollars to your taxing assignments, and collecting the money to pay for the contractor that your SAD, the Special Assessment District, has hired to do this chemical application. So a lot of the questions that were asked, how deep are the weeds? I don't know. Is this the same as Clear Lake and Squaw, Paint, whatever it is? Scientific data to the end of this? We can't answer that question. Company doing it, I know that Eagle and DNR all have to have them licensed and they check their products. Can you take a break for a while? Don't sign the SAD. Get your neighbors to not sign it. Get your neighbors to protest it. But we don't have that information, nor do we have that right. Cost, downtime, dogs sick, we don't answer those questions. We don't have those answers. No one from the board has ever been on the lake. I don't know. I don't go on Tan Lake. I don't go on Clear Lake. I don't go on Squaw Lake. I don't go on Lake Orion. I go on Lake St. Clair. Breakdown per property. Curtis, you want to address that?
Yeah, I can address that. What you have here is you have 126 properties around the lake. The 127, but one is a township-owned property, so it's exempt from an SAD. But also you have 5 other outlots, and those outlots are divided up into certain parcels of land that have access to the outlot. So they are assessed a percentage of that outlot cost. So when this is all said and done, you have upwards of about 190 properties that will be getting assessed on the SAD. Mary Kay subdivision, they have 51 people, property owners, that have rights to that outlot, and some of them don't live on the lake, and they'll be getting assessed probably about a $5 bill, plus or minus. The average cost for somebody on the lake is going to be roughly about $225. That's years 2 through 10, but in year 1 it's going to be a little higher because there's administrative costs that are involved. It's a $3,000 bill, That goes for your publication costs, that goes for engineering, legal, for the paper costs, the mailing that was sent to you. So those are costs that are involved to get the SAD for this to get in place. So you're looking at roughly, like I said, $225 for years 2 through 10, a little higher for year 1 if it goes through. The outlots, if you don't live on the lake, you're gonna get assessed anywhere from, like I said, like $5, maybe $12 on that. So by that not being paid by the association has increased the cost, the time to actually get the SAD in place. So that, I don't know if that answered the question as far as what the estimated costs are, but that's pretty much what you're looking for. The stuff here also is in my office. If you want to come in and look at it, I'm happy to sit down with you, you take a look at it, and I'll give you the information that I have.
At this time, this board, again, is just looking to ensure that the tax roll was created correctly, that the supplier for your contracted weed control is charging a certain amount, and we have to break that off according to the property you own. While we are all concerned with the environment on this board, the homework needs to be done prior to coming to this board. This board addresses the tax, not the scientific data. So I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's the fact, and it's what we have to deal with.
Can I, sorry.
The main thing about all SADs, they said our township board level, they're all resident driven. They're not imposed by us. Township board's not saying, okay, everybody on, Cedar Lake, Long Lake, you must pay for this. It's not imposed by us at all. It's brought to us. And as long as they have 51%, we proceed. We've got a SAD for Cedar, Long, Tan Lake. There's one for Squaw Lake and Clear Lake. There's one for Lake Mickelson. Each of those SADs, residents in that area banded together and say, Township Board, we got 51%, we want you to handle this for us. And that's our function.
I was just gonna ask you
I'll address some questions. Come on up to the mic, Mary, please.
All right. Well, I guess this is, Curtis, the SAD that you're talking about. The SAD that I have in my hand has an expiration date of 7 years past the year 2018. Okay? I was not presented, at my house with an extension for an SAD. So one of the questions is, where is this new SAD coming from? Okay? Secondly, the contract. The contract that I have in my hand has a date of June 8th, 2017. That's the end of the contract. Okay? Where's the new contract? How can you assess us for a contract that is under an expiration date?
Okay, right. We have a new contract.
Okay.
Presented by the people that went around and garnered the 51% to get the SAD done.
So there was a new SAD.
This SAD you have in your hand, Mary, that will be expiring. Once that expires, then the process, in this case, is starting all over again. So you are signed up, not you necessarily, but this is the contract that is going to be subject to being renewed as a new SAD for a 10-year period. As presented to us by the circulator, as also indicated by the majority of those landowners that signed off, said, yes, move forward for us if you would.
Okay, so if I am to understand, you correctly, that there has been a person walking in the neighborhood getting signatures from the residents.
That's my understanding.
Okay, I know a couple of my neighbors are here. Did you have a person stop at your house and ask? No? No? Neighbors? Anyone?
Mary,
Yeah.
when a petitioner goes around and knows they have over 51%, a lot of them don't go to every
They
neighbor.
stop? Okay.
They stop.
Well, that's fine.
I
I
mean,
just want to
that's
make
what they
certain
do.
that it's not just, a continuation, without the proper procedure.
The forms, all the petitions are brought to Clerk Wright's office.
Okay.
You can see the addresses that said yes. You can see the addresses.
That said no.
Okay.
Or
If
they
if
even
they were,
talk.
if they
Okay.
were conceived.
I support democracy. I go along with what the vote is, but I want to make certain that things are done correctly.
Okay, thank you.
And Kimberly Reynolds, thanks for your job.
Yes.
What are these outlots? Is that like Gill and Keith and Gibson and Hillberg and all of these other roads that are running all up the lake that have access to those public lots that are at the end of their street on the lake? Is
No,
are
no,
those-
that's a different SAD. That's the one that is actually in place with PLM doing that spraying.
What is PLM?
PLM is the company doing the spraying. I don't know what the initial stand for.
This is the Cedar Long Tan Lakes you're talking about.
Yeah, on
Clear Lake and
Clear and
Squaw
Squaw.
Lake.
What are the outlots? I wanna, because the people that are on Keith, for example, have legal rights, back when there was homeowners association.
I'm gonna
they have
interrupt you.
rights.
We're talking about Cedar Lake, Long Lake, and Tan Lake right now. If we have a question on Clear
Okay.
Lake and Keith and all that, please address, come on up to the office, talk to Clerk Gregg. He can give you all the role for that SAD.
Okay. Does that address my question?
Yes, Clerk Gregg.
Yeah, you mentioned the outlots. There's actually 5 outlots that are involved. One is Mary Kay sub, that's on Tanview. The other one is Aquaview sub, which is also on Tanview. And there is Tan Lake Shores, which is off Brookfield. And then there's a Lake Park Homeowners Association outlet, which has actually 2 outlots on it. So
And
those
the
are your outlots.
Outlots are the public access
The public
on the
access to,
lake
that
for
that are
those
deeded
people.
to those homeowners within those platted subdivisions.
Okay.
And they are the ones that have the access, and those are the ones that either they're gonna get assessed just for the outlot, or they're gonna get assessed for the actual lake frontage and also the outlot, because it's a dual access.
And they have right to sign that petition if they, or not. They-
Correct.
So we
That's-
we could in essence go to all of those homes and get a petition ourselves that is higher in number than the one that was turned in,
We
saying
don't
they
know if
wanted.
you can or can't. All we do is we get the
I
petition.
know, I'm trying to understand where these numbers come, if, let's just give it a round number, 100 people on the lake, all of them, just all together, 100 people. 51 people say, we wanna do it, that's your majority. But I'm betting that all of the people in those outlots don't know that they're being assessed anything, but if we were to go to all of them and get our own petition that had a higher number than the one that was already turned in saying yay, does that count? Is that what you guys need to make your decision, is a petition that we can turn in either in October or November to counter the petition that was already sent in?
In my opinion, the answer is no, because your outlet only has so much frontage to it, and if you got 51 signatures in Mary Kay of the outlot, chances are that isn't gonna be enough to be a concern to the SAD area that's now under consideration to move forward.
I used to live over in Gibson, so I understand the Clear Lake, Squaw Lake one. What they did, at least in that area, is they took those of us on the outlots out of the equation. They absorbed that amongst the entire SAD. So when I was on Gibson, I never signed it because my little outlot at the end of the street was absorbed as part of everybody on Clear Lake, Squaw Lake. I'm almost sure that's probably what they're doing here as well. And even if we were all to have signed, we'd have one vote on one little piece of property. Wouldn't be compared to, Christ the King, or, not Christ the King, Lake Point, who owns half the lake. Our little 51 for one little lot wouldn't mean anything compared to Lake Point, who signs owns half the lake. I think that's the Clear Lake, Squaw Lake issue. You get Lake Point to sign it, or you get Lake Point to sign the petition, you're in.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Trustee Noel.
I'd like to jump in on this. I got involved with this 7 years ago, got involved with this 4 years ago. There's 2 tasks to this. There's a process task and there's a process and there's a task. My problem is not with the task. My problem is that I have issue is with the process. The notification of all the residents that are impacted. All the residents have not been notified that this impacts. The second part of this process is the financial reporting and the feedback from the finances involved, as well as any samples and any outcomes of progress on the lake. No feedback has been given to the homeowners. I feel that is very evident tonight, where we have folks come in that have no idea, because of a lack of communication, of the cost, the tax, and the outcome. Let's talk about the task. The task is the weed control, okay? I live on the lake. I was just in the lake an hour and a half ago. It is being accomplished. The weeds are dying. Things have been accomplished. Whether we need to continue that or not is totally up to the experts. I'm not an expert, but we are managing the weeds. The township can take action if it so desires, I believe, to put ordinances in place that when these SADs come forth, all the property owners in the SAD should be notified officially. There should be checks and balances. Sorry. There should be checks and balances of reporting to the residents who have to pay the bills, whether it's financial, whether it's accomplishments of the tasks they're doing, of the weed control itself. So those are things that I believe the township can look into to do to help resolve these problems and help best manage the SADs within the township.
Is that what this is? That's your notice?
I don't know what that is. I don't
That's
think
the notice for the public hearing.
I move to approve resolution number 2, to establish a Cedar Lake, Long Lake, and Tan Lake Special Assessment District as presented.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Supervisor Curtis. Questions? Trustee Colvin.
Actually, since Attorney Alice came up, ask her, once we get a petition from residents and more than 50% assignment, what is our obligation as a board?
Yeah, so your obligation, first of all, is to notice everyone in the SAD district, and that goes to Trustee Knowles' point. When a public hearing is held on the district, the actual project itself, all the things that we're discussing tonight, every single resident in that district is required to receive notice by law. And I think someone in the audience actually said, isn't this the notice we received? So they should have.
We did that,
Yeah.
and Mr. Supervisor, correct me if I'm wrong, I just have one comment. It seems like it's a done deal. 51% have already voiced the opinion that this needs to be done.
Yes.
I'm after the process, the management of the process. The township, I believe, needs to be involved with that. Management of the cost of that, management of the feedback of what the activity is being done to all the homeowners, not just a select few. Thank you.
So I can expand on that a little bit as well. The public hearing tonight is an opportunity as well for residents to come and be heard and actually object to the SAD district, which we've heard some of that tonight. And if they actually get up to 20%, I want to be 100% accurate, so I'm going to read from the statute. So it's, if they get 20% objections by the record owners of land constituting 20% of the total land area in the proposed special assessment district, that would prevent the board from moving forward with approval of the SAD tonight. So there is a process. They do get notification, and they have the opportunity to come and object. And if they get to that, if the property owners and the SAD reach that number, then the board is prohibited from moving forward with that approval.
I'm not debating it,
Yeah.
I've read that.
Hold on. Attorney Ellis,
Mhm.
did we do everything that we're supposed to do?
It's my understanding that everyone in the SAD district was noticed appropriately in accordance with law.
We are not in the weed control business. We do not go to you and say, we are gonna control your weeds. We are not gonna look in the checkbook of your weed controller to see what they're spending their money on, how much they're paying their people to do this job. We do not do that. The state does that. The state does it through requirements of licensing, of chemical checking. All we do here is say that your petition has been granted for us to collect your tax money to pay your supplier. We are a facilitator of the funds to ensure the person doing the work gets paid. Yes, ma'am.
Didn't you just say that if we have 20%
Of the landowners,
of the
20%,
landowners, that we can
yes.
put a stop to what you
Yes.
Tonight, you would have to have those objections put in tonight.
Not yours. Which lake are you talking about?
I'm talking about their swamp.
We're on Cedar Lawn.
I know, but I
Okay.
can't keep up with what you're talking about.
We're only on one lake.
It's all the same body of water, it's only divided by a bridge.
Don't start that bridge talk.
They set it up that way.
Yeah, I didn't
Obviously,
say
a couple, you know, several of us didn't even know there was a new SAB. You know, I'm relying on information that I was given that everything is done. You know, the only reason I knew that something was coming up was because of the letter you sent. So, it's a moot point, you know, unless what John Knoll, you know, mentioned, that, you know, there's
I
gotta be.
have a motion on the floor and I'll call the roll, please.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
No.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Item 12E, Oxford Addison Youth request for 2025 contribution.
I move to waive the requirement that the Oxford Addison Youth Assistants provide an audited financial statement of the most recent year on their request for contribution form. Allocate $12,890.47 of 2025 general fund funds. The Oxford Addison Youth Assistants is $12,890.47 amount to be expensed. The 2025 general fund account 101-695-881.002 contributions youth assistance.
So,
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Colvin. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Item 13A, set the public hearing for Great Lakes Senior Living Communities LLC for issuance of tax exempt bonds. Clerk Wright?
Yes, you get this page here. Okay, we were contacted by the attorney from Miller Canfield that Great Lakes Senior Living Communities would like to host a public hearing at the October meeting because they're in the process of wanting to refund their bonds. And the reason why is because they are the owners of Independence Village in Oxford, and they have to have the host community have a public hearing to actually move forward through the process to meet their SEC or whatever their requirements are. So with that, we were presented with a resolution to approve to actually set the public hearing for the October meeting. So with that, I'll move to approve the resolution calling public hearing regarding the proposed issuance by the Arizona Industrial Development Authority of tax exempt bonds, Great Lakes Senior Living Communities LLC, and schedule a public hearing for the October 9, 2024 Charter Township of Oxford Board of Trustees regular meeting. Any cost, including the public hearing publication requirements associated with this request for public hearing, shall be reimbursed by Great Lakes Senior Living Communities LLC.
Second for discussion.
I have a motion by Clerk Wright and a second by Treasurer Ferrari. Treasurer Ferrari, you have a question?
Yep, Supervisor Curtis, myself, and Clerk Wright have been talking to the Great Lakes Living Communities along with Attorney Ellis. There's been a suggestion that we have an amendment to the original agreement for this process, so we'd like to have that as also part of the package for October 9th, 2024.
It will be.
Thank you. Just wanted to note.
Roll call?
Trustee Colvin.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Trustee Noel.
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles.
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis.
Yes. Okay, item 13B, Chief Majestic of the Fire Department requested updates be made to the township's support emergency operations plan. The changes include updating names and contact information, correcting grammatical errors, and adding the Oxford Public Library as a source of shelter.
I move to approve the resolution to adopt the Oxford Township Support Emergency Plan, Operations Plan dated September 12th, 2024 as presented. Authorized Supervisor Jack Curtis, Clerk Curtis Wright, Building Official Tim London, and Communications and Grant Manager C.J. Carnacchio signed the Oxford Township Support Emergency Operations Plan on behalf of the township.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Item 13C, procurement policy amendment. Board members, in our quest for grant apprehension by our grants and communications manager, our procurement policy, in order to ensure compliance with the federal requirements for the grant eligibility, needed the paragraph added that's in your package tonight. So with that, I move to approve the amendment to Section 6 of the Oxford Township procurement policy for purposes of compliance with federal grant standards and authorize Township Clerk Curtis Wright to certify and file the same.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Curtis, a second by Treasurer Ferrari. Are there any questions? Roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Item 13D, Employee Handbook Amendment, adding employee sick time act language. In July 2024, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled that the state legislature's action on paid sick leave initiative was unconstitutional. This ruling reinstates the employer requirement for paid medical sick leave effective February 21st, 2025. Based on this requirement, the employee handbook needs to be updated, and we need to have the personnel committee work with the Kelly firm to update that.
I move that the Oxford Township Personnel Committee work with the Kelly Law Firm to update the Oxford Township Employee Handbook, include the required language to comply with the Earned Sick Time Act of 2018, provide the updated Oxford Township Employee Handbook for consideration of approval at a future Charter Township of Oxford Board of Trustees meeting prior to the February 21st, 2025 Earned Sick Time Act effective date.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Okay, short-term disability agreement. Ryan Root, our Oxford Township Health Insurance representative from BHS Insurance, marketed our short-term disability. Attached to the board packet tonight was comparisons of several companies, including our current carrier. Ryan recommended entering into a new agreement with One America. Even though Mutual of Omaha is the lowest, I would recommend One America. The reason being is they are very easy to do business with, and their customer support is superior over others. We have business with all carriers on the spreadsheet. One America has the best service of them all, Mutual of Omaha being second. Kansas Life is a great carrier as well, but with a difference in premium, it's hard not to understand why we would be switching. That's a quote from Ryan.
I move to authorize BHS Insurance to terminate the short-term disability insurance agreement with Kansas City Life Insurance Company, effective on the earliest date possible, and to approve entering into a short-term disability insurance agreement with One America Insurance Company, and authorize Supervisor Jack Curtis to sign any necessary documents on behalf of the Charter Township of Oxford.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Item 13F, canvass of the August 6, 2024 primary election. Clerk Wright?
Yes, in your packet, board members, are the results of the August 6, 2024 primary election that was certified by the Oakland County Board of Canvassers. The information is quite lengthy, but it covered everything that was on the local August 6th ballot. So with that, I'll move to approve the canvass of votes for the August 6, 2024 primary election of the Charter Township of Oxford as presented, and to include them as an attachment to the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Clerk Wright, a second by Treasurer Ferrari. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Clerk Wright, yes. Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Okay, Treasurer Ferrari, would you like to talk about the 2023-2024 EVIP grant funding, please?
Yes, board members, as you know, each year we've been getting EVIP monies from the state. The amount we've done in the past that we split amongst other taxing units. After we paid our amount that we paid to Munetrix for the services they provided for the state reporting. Supposedly next year we do not have to do that reporting. We won't have that invoice from Munetrix anymore. I move to authorize Treasurer Joseph G. Ferrari sign a one-year subscription contract invoice with Munetrix LLC of $3,711 or to meet the state of Michigan reporting requirements, Secure Economic Vitality Incentive Program EVIP funding. It's further understood that the $3,711 fee will be subtracted from the $67,306 EVIP grant, leaving $63,595 to be distributed to the Oxford Township local taxing units based on 2023 township millage rates and $1,294 to designate to the Oxford Township Fire Fund to help pay for its various applicable programs.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Noel. Are there any questions? We shouldn't be doing this next year, should we?
Well, we won't have to pay Munetrix.
Ah, that's right. Roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Noel?
Yes.
Trustee Colvin?
Yes.
Trustee Payne?
Yes.
And Supervisor Curtis?
Yes. Board members, it was asked by Trustee Charles, we have a moment of silence for a 9/11 remembrance. So if we'd all please stand, pay our respects to the flag for a minute. Thank you. All right, item number 15, public comment. Again, at this time, the public can come up and make comment. So are there any members of the public that would like to come up and comment? Seeing none, item number 16, Board of Trustee comments. I'll start with Trustee Colvin, please.
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Payne? Trustee Noel?
Thank you, but no thank you.
Treasurer Ferrari?
Just a reminder that the property tax due date is Monday, September 16th, 2024, before interest charges are accrued the next day.
Clerk Wright?
No comment.
Trustee Charles?
Just a reminder that Saturday is no haz day. If you have hazardous materials you'd like to drop off down at Pontiac, bring them down instead of pouring them in the backyard.
Thank you, sir. I have no comments.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion by Treasurer Ferrari, a second by Trustee Colvin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?